Đặng Thùy Trâm was born in 1942 to a family of doctors. Becomes a doctor herself. She finishes her medical training in 1966. And her sort of first assignment is a tough one. She's sent south into South Vietnam to operate a field hospital for North Vietnamese soldiers and for partisans, right, Viet Cong rebels, or depending on your perspective, serving and wounded during the war. I mentioned too that the diary was found when she was killed in an ambush by U.S. soldiers in 1970, and was kept by an American intelligence officer who brought it home with him after his career in the FBI ended. He used his former contacts in the U.S. government to contact folks in Vietnam and track down Thuy's family, return the diary to her mother, and it became an instant bestseller when it was published in 2005. This is page 135 in your handout, the 16th of July, 1969. And Thuy describes what we just saw, in part. I don't know what people think when they see the American bandits' air raids. This afternoon, like other afternoons, an OV-10 plane circles several times above the hamlets, then launches a rocket down to Hamlet 13 and so on. Immediately, 2 jets take turn diving down. Where each bomb strikes, fire and smoke flare up. The napalm bomb flashes, then explodes in a red ball of fire, leaving dark, thick smoke that climbs into the sky. Still, the airplanes scream overhead, a series of bombs raining down with each pass, explosions deafening. From a position nearby, I sit with silent fury in my heart. Who is burned in that fire and smoke? In those heaven-shaking explosions, whose bodies are annihilated in the bomb craters? But the old lady sitting by me stares at the hamlet and says, "That's where Hung's mother-in-law lives." Oh, my heroic people, perhaps no one on earth has suffered more than you, citizens of this courageous South. So yeah, so interesting too. A number of the brothers that you'll meet, she means politically. In her context too, so that it could be something like comrade, other folks with whom she works in her unit, or patients she treats. Even it is very personal. Yeah,
I think that in my estimation, she's an MD who's concerned about her patients and her lack of supplies, but also she's a poet. She takes the time to speak of the beauty of the raindrop on the jungle boat.
So again, back on the beautiful language of the diary itself. Something about her mind feels so poetic and so keen too. We get everything in the diary too, from the very pragmatic, I simply don't have the particular supplies I need to do my job in wartime, to wistful, lonely, imaginative. It's rich and full. And I think, well, okay, I could keep talking, but this is great. What other impressions, thoughts? Yeah.
In a bigger picture, she's letting us know that she is among people who are poets.
So you're thinking on page 7 here, the 14th of April, a wounded soldier under my care wrote me a poem.
It lets you know. I mean, it's an added dimension to these people.
So to patients, and not only to Thuy, right, but to her patients, the folks in under her care too. Yeah, absolutely. So she does have strong political beliefs that do come through. She is sincerely and fiercely invested in her own country and what she believes is right. She has that strong sense. But then there's all kinds of other personal dimensions too that fit in here. Like, again, maybe on the same page, on page 7, she addresses M. And he reappears all throughout this diary. And M is her former lover. They broke up when he was sent south earlier in the war to command a commando unit. and he tells her something like he needs to devote himself entirely to the war. And she never stops thinking of him, and in different ways, but he continually re-emerges. He survives the war. Ultimately, he's severely wounded, and several times, but he does survive the war, and but never makes an effort, according at least to the editors of this volume of the diary, never makes an effort to reconnect with Thuy's family, because of course she does not survive. So we don't really know kind of what happened with their relationship, but he appears now just as M throughout the diary, these and in unexpected moments too. What else?
I really like the theme of love, especially on page like 6 and 7.
Yeah.
When we see like, return to your lonely old mother, and then on 12 April 1968, whom did I miss? That more people who left.
Mm-hmm.
And also, who can, on 13 April 1968, she says that why can everyone else love me but the man who has my faithful heart cannot?
Mm-hmm.
That's the girl. And then on 4th, and then the next posting that she wrote, she said that scope of the bitter breeze was a girl betrayed by her lover.
Mm-hmm.
That's also like love or the lack of love. So it feels like it doesn't feel like a war like diary. It feels like a expression of love for the various people. What is it, romantic love? Or like love from a parent to like a child, or like a child to a parent.
Yeah.
That was like what I realized.
Is that unexpected?
A little bit.
Yeah, right. I think, I mean, particularly when we contrast it with where we're going to end in war memoir, or texts that are curated or designed to really focus on an individual's wartime experience. This is a little bit different. This is very personal, and these feelings just never leave, even during wartime. I'm sorry, you please.
So adding on to that, I missed up on like please stop it. You were
Yeah.
what are her predictor power
Mm-hmm.
for those soldiers?
So to me, I felt like that was like an act as like care, or like an act of like love. Like I'm thinking in my head, I don't want to assume that this soldier, is a poet and consistently write poems. Like maybe he did that for her because he knows like she also like write poems too, right? And then it's just got me thinking like, oh, I guess like nowadays I feel like writing poetry isn't really that common, and so it got me thinking like back then, like writing letters, like does everyone kind of become a poet back then? And I don't know, like a form of, but like letters are to me oftentimes like all with the form of poetry, right? But when there's a lot of longing involved, or if you want to pour in some of that emotion. So in my head, I'm thinking, like, does every letter does it somehow?
I like that. And I want to kind of key on the first part of your comment too, right? It's unlikely that every soldier is a poet that's out there. So most likely what it is that this is a wounded soldier who's working to express himself in a stylistically sophisticated way, and he's making an effort. He wants to share something complicated and deeply emotional, and very we seem to assume sincere, right? We don't know the poem. The poem's unfortunately lost, but how could it be anything but sincere? There's something about just the way that it shows in this, right? Reading his words, "I am dismayed," she says, right? It's moved her, whether she likes it or not. It's moved her in some way. What can we make of this last line? This is still on page 8 here at the top paragraph, where she writes, "I promise someday I will let you know this woman of socialism."
She was in a political her head was in politics. And she was actually invading the South.
Okay. So she's sincere in her politics, right? That this and maybe surprisingly so, at least in this particular, to pivot in this way. But if we lean on the, did you want to follow?
It was also the soldier wrote of something so personal, broken heart and the bitter grief of a girl betrayed. I think it's a contrast. I'm a woman of socialism. So yes, I have my own person.
Right, or where her politics are. Is this, and this, I don't have a good answer for this. I wrestle with it a bit. Is she sort of putting up a wall here? Did she get something really emotional from a patient and say, no, I'm in this diary. She's emotional and free and personal, and outside she has another persona. We do this all the time, right? Are we looking at that kind of a move? I think, at least that's how I tend to I think it refracts through her what she might think of as patriotism, what we might think of as, an ideological commitment. What this means in socialism, in all caps here, I think needs the context of coming in to this conversation with the soldier who's given her a poem.
She makes the same, I find it the same or similar narrative move on page 134. I don't know if that's but where in the first paragraph she ends with, nevertheless, I'm the same, is always my heart heavy with longings, worries, and thoughts. And then she follows immediately with this big paragraph about she's willing to die for the, and that's the same move.
I promise someday I will let you know this woman of socialism. Right? I promise someday I will let you know this woman. The real me. It's this statement of, once this war is done, there'll be a chance, you'll have a chance to get to know me. Whether or not that's true, or she's just saying this to the wounded soldier, again, I don't know, but there's something in here, in this brief line that Thuy is telling or imagining that, or she knows rather, that she's presenting a version of herself out. I'm fascinated.
I think if you look at the next sentence where it says, "Oh, this is the saddest part of my relationship with Den," he left because of this duty. When he wrote from the sense of duty, and that's kind of what it seems like she is. I don't have time for your pity or your, or the sadness. Someday I will let you know this woman of socialism, but right now that's kind of her duty, and that's the saddest part of her relationship with N, because he left following, a sense of duty.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, his sense of I think that feels very recognizable. The sense of regardless of the side that you're on, like that feels very much a part of both this piece and what we know of M. And then she continues in that same paragraph too. She's just so frustrated that everybody's showing sympathy to her because M left. She doesn't really want that sympathy.